Okay, we're live for the latest edition of the Data Value Show. Today's show is called Zombie Data Teams, and we have Veronika Durgin coming on to share her views on what is a zombie data team and how we prevent there being more zombie data teams out there. So, Veronika, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure, and I always enjoy these chats. So it's good for them to be recorded because other people can benefit from our rants and observations of the latest activities in the data world. So I always start with a bit of an introduction. So I met Veronika, I think, in Boston many years ago after an introduction from Joe when we were. Joe was first writing his Fundamentals of Data Engineering book with Matt. So we met up there and always stayed in touch. So always value your opinion and your insight. So welcome, Veronika. For those that don't know you, do you want to give yourself a bit of an introduction and background about yourself?
For sure. So, Veronika, I've been in data forever, a very long time. I used to say that I fell into data, but then I was somebody corrected me that because I spent my entire career in data, I didn't fall into it. But anyway, I did fall into it back in a long time ago. So I've done all kinds of things with data. I started as a DBA. I talk about it a lot. I think being a DBA was probably the best boot camp I could ever get to appreciate great architecture, well-designed databases, to understand how database systems work, how to optimize them, why things are expensive, how to make them cheaper. So I think highly recommend. It was probably always kind of like the most hated profession who somebody was trying to kill. Like every year of my career, somebody was trying to kill DBAs. They're still quite well and alive and super useful. After some time, I transitioned into analytics space. Love it. That's where I am now. Um, yeah, that's about me. And kind of talking about Chris. So I met Chris. So Joe was in Boston and he put a message, hey, anybody, if you want to come out and meet. One of the greatest things I've done, I've met Joe, I've met Matt, I've met Chris, the greatest connections, professional connections, and now hopefully I can call friends as well. So highly recommend to all of you to connect with people, take opportunities when somebody's visiting to just meet in person. It's super great.
Yeah, the value in the community is definitely proved itself for myself over the years. So it's been great to meet you then, and great to kept in touch. And yes, we are friends. We can say that. We can
All right, amazing. I think I don't know people like how they define friends.
Oh no, we've met in person enough times to fall into that camp. So today's topic, it was a great title. I know it was one that you came up with Sonny, and it's an interesting topic, especially seeing that we like killing off teams, people, roles. So yeah, zombies a good sort of analogy for that. But so first of all, high level, what's the what is a zombie data team?
Just a little bit of context of how this topic came about. It was in October. Joe Reese, gonna bring his name up, wrote something about data teams are dead. So I was kind of in my mood of like, why are we killing everything and everyone in data space? BI is dead, dashboards are dead, data modeling is dead, and then we killed data teams. So I was ranting to Sonia Rivera, who's another good, great professional network, but as well as a friend. I was like, Sonny, I'm so tired of killing. We're killing, and he said that, well, zombie data teams, do they know they're dead? And I was like, oh my God, this is such a fun and relevant and amazing topic. So zombie data teams, do they know they're dead? So how do I define zombie data teams? It's the data teams that are working on kind of like very busy. I'll start with that. Very, very busy data teams, but that are working on ad hoc and low value tasks. So no, they don't know they're dead because they are very, very busy. There's constant stream of requests and things and work on this and people pinging them constantly. But they're actually overall not delivering value that is noticeable at a high level of the organization. So that's how I define them. What about you, Chris? What do you think?
So yeah, I agree. I think it's teams just following direction, but without understanding what direction they're going on. I think I refer to it as a death march. So you're always following the same direction, and you probably don't believe in what you're doing and why you're doing it, but you're busy. You keep doing it because you always have done it. And so I think there's not saying the zombie teams are all dead, but I think there's maybe an option to bring some of these zombie teams back to life with a change in their behaviors or change in the way they think. So
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I define them as teams working on low value team work, and you're defining them as kind of like robotic, of like repetitive tasks that they're not questioning and they're not asking, why am I working on this? Why am I doing it this way? So they're more like Star Wars clones. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just following and doing, well, as zombies do, just groaning and going, and just walking along. So I did a little bit of a summary of some of the topics, and so now we've defined a couple of versions or lenses on what we think are zombie data teams. So therefore, zombie teams are working on zombie projects. So so how would you? We've probably got a slightly different lens on this. How would you define what a zombie project is?
So from the lens of low value, right? So kind of like the lens that I put on it, it's the projects that are not actually delivering value at the highest level. So again, like this is part of it is, there's actually a lot that goes into prioritization of work, and we can take it in many different directions, but data teams, and this has been my experience, are always incredibly busy. Like I have yet to see a data person that's sitting doing nothing. So like genuinely, I think we're super busy. What differentiates teams is the type of tasks they're working on. So to me, low value tasks, for example, so as we kind of like, if you think of a career ladder and we define like, junior IC, senior IC, the way we define this growth is by scope of influence, right? So when a junior person comes to a data person and says, can you please add 3 fields to a report? The scope of influence, the scope of impact of this work is just for this one person, right? Is this the highest value work that you could be doing right now? So it's kind of like you have to look holistically and kind of like you have to bubble slightly above the task that's been requested. Is it truly important to do that? Is it something you should be doing, or perhaps you should actually train that person so they can help themselves, right? So one of the things that I try, and this, by the way, kind of always been an issue when people come to us, they oftentimes prescribe a solution. They tell us, do it this way. So I generally try to ask, what are you trying to accomplish? Right? One, kind of like holistic, like in general, explain to me like how does it fit in this whole thing that you're responsible for? And then the second question is why now?
Yeah.
Why now? Not why is it important? Because it is important, but why now? You end up having very interesting conversations with oftentimes whoever's requesting can kind of goes back and says, no, I actually don't need it now, or ever. It creates an interesting conversation of how whatever they're requesting fits into a broader kind of like theme. And then what it ends up helping us as data teams to either say no, and that's another rant where I actually hate saying no. I always hated it. Or instead, how to fit in whatever the user needs to accomplish into kind of like a bigger thing that is beneficial not just for them, but for more teams or more people or functionality. So I said a lot, Chris. You probably have like 50 questions.
I've made some notes as well, and I think there's an interesting point with the example you gave of you get asked to add a couple more fields. So doing things very fragmented or very knee-jerk reaction to some of these requests, yes, you're going to add those 2 fields. Yes, you're going to do the release of that, propagate those 2 fields for every layer, model it in a semantic layer, test it, release it. That's a lot of effort for 2 more fields. And I think that why question is a really good one of, okay, yes, you need it. I understand why. Well, so why now? What about if you did that in 2 weeks' time, when I've combined them with lots of other small feature requests and doing that then, is that going to be efficient? And if they say no, so, well, it's going to cost X amount more. Are you prepared to go and get that signed off, to go and get the agreement that we're happy to, is this problem going to be worth having this 2 weeks earlier rather than 2 weeks later at 1/3 of the cost?
Right.
And I think that's something that we talk about data modeling many times, and maybe people don't understand that you can create entities that have multiple benefits and not just creating a feature table for just one use case. So yeah, I think that's a
yeah. The other side is like, as you start having this conversation, this person actually describes an area that is potentially, painful or needs a little bit of TLC and help. And as they talk about it, you'll probably realize that this area is not just impacting them, but other people. So instead of 2 fields, maybe you actually need to add 20.
Yeah.
It's roughly the same amount of effort because it's kind of like within the same theme. So why don't we do that instead? And now we are building a product, right? Or actually, I'm not going to say product, capability that will not only help this specific person group, but also others. So that's kind of like the other way. It's like you either say no because it's potentially the cost benefit analysis is not there, or it becomes kind of like actually more impactful and slightly bigger thing that will kind of make your team successful.
Yeah, I think it goes. I mean, Jesse Anderson was at it was at Day to Day Texas last year. I think I had on the show recently, and an example he gave was a user comes out, or a stakeholder comes along and says, "I need this data real time." Okay, so what's real time? You need it every minute? Oh no, maybe 15 minutes is probably all right. And then, well, what are you going to use that data for? Oh, I'm going to run this report later, but it uses this other data that I'm going to get daily. So there's no point you having this real time, is there? Well, probably not. So I think it's that, and engineers and we've all been, we're here, we like to do things for the clients and make them happy. And I think sometimes your comment is saying no doesn't make people happy. So being able to challenge, refine requirements to actually find out really, is that what you really want, and actually get that conversation to not just say yes to everything, just say help actually get the real requirements out and then deliver what's really needed in a time frame that's needed as well.
Yeah, and I generally hate saying, like, everybody's like, oh, just say no. Like there was this whole Steve Jobs thing. I remember years ago, one of the companies I worked for, there was their like guiding principle, just say no. I absolutely loathe it. First of all, being a DBA, you can't say no. People come to you with real problems that you have to solve, so you can say sorry, your stuff is just going to continue being broken. But the other side, like, so there are actually 2 more sides to it. One is obviously, as we as humans generally we want to be helpful. We don't like saying no. 2, the team that comes to you asks for help. If you say no, they'll do it anyway. They'll find a way, and then they'll like throw that to you to support. So you can't just say no. If you say no, you have to offer something else. And sometimes it's a different solution. Sometimes it's just different timeline. So I'm like, I'm not, and then like again, when you say no to someone, they also get kind of upset and sad, and this whole like psychology of it is just unpleasant.
Yeah, and I think Ramona said, don't say no, say not right now. But on a slight back to the other point earlier we were making, is that being busy doesn't mean being productive. And I think the Hemingway did it was motion is not action. You can go around very, very fast. You need to make sure you're moving moving in the right direction, and that comes with actions. And I think the other point was about providing critical advice or feedback in a way that you don't alienate people, you don't upset them or prevent them on being part of that journey. And as you say, if you force like this, but if you push from the behind and encourage, you're more likely to actually get what you need. So I think it's a key and vital skill of I think what's the analogy? You try and tell someone their baby's ugly, in a way that you don't upset them.
Right.
So people's ideas, you just have to take some elements of it and take them on the journey, rather than just being, no, you can't do that. In fact, use Jason's one. It depends.
I know. Well, so as long as depends, Jason, instead of saying no, say F off. Instead of if you say it depends and walk away, people will just hate you. Explain. Take people on the journey of why not right now, or why it's a no. It's sometimes we have conversation like, this is a great idea, but your request, your idea will need to spend, say, 2 weeks of engineering time, and it'll save us $20,000.
Yes.
$20,000 we save, we spend engineering time, where we're working in hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars projects, or new opportunities or cost savings. Like, take them on the journey to get to know with you. Like, you'd be surprised. That's why it's why now is a very interesting and mind challenging conversation to have with your end users.
And I think I've talked about this a while, is data teams being understanding what and how they can support the business strategy. We're data people, we always talk about data strategies, and unfortunately, a data strategy that doesn't underpin a business strategy is just a nice exercise that you've done in your data team without any support or buy-in, because you haven't got that quantifiable aspect that you mentioned there. Was we're going to say, if we do this, we're going to save X amount of money. If we do this, we're going to increase sales by X amount. If we do this, we're going to increase our share price or can beat our competition. But unless you have that connection or visibility, it's very hard. It's very hard to know if what you're doing is the right thing. And I know in organisations you talk about hierarchies, and they can be you can be quite far removed from the people that are setting the direction. But there's no reason why you can't ask for more information and find out why should we be doing this, or working closely with the business to actually understand where their pain points are and actually start targeting that, which I think is quite a good one with that. You're saying about the why now. Have a meeting with them and say, look, I know I can't do it at this moment, but let me meet up with you this week, understand why it's such a pressing issue, and then we can work out or get a justification why it does need to be done now. Because if they can't say why it needs to be done now and linking it to the business strategy, then why should you spend money on it?
I mean, that's a great great topic, right? I oftentimes say, for to engineers, if you don't understand how the work you're doing fits into a bigger picture, ask your manager, ask your manager's manager. The other thing is, pay attention. So something I had a mentorship session. Somebody was asking me, how do you figure out what's important? Pay attention to your all hands, to any communications that are coming from your leadership. There's obviously a formal roadmap and everything, but there's also all these things that leadership is celebrating or being transparent about. That's what's important. You should be able to kind of bubble up into it of the task I'm working on right now fits into project ABC, and project ABC is ultimately, either saving us money or new opportunities or whatever that may be. Just pay attention. It's not that hard. But if somebody asks you to do something and you ask them why, how does it fit into bigger picture, and they can't explain, keep challenging. Truly, the other kind of like interesting thing is like we have jobs. Every single one of us make sure that we have 8 hours worth of work. How much of that work is truly impactful, we don't know, but we all work hard, right? Like we're not sitting doing nothing. So just keep that in mind, because people come to you, it's because they need something from you. It's really up to you to kind of like figure out whether it's worth the engineering time, or whether it's something you should probably unlock that person to, self-serve.
Yeah. I just you mentioned earlier about capabilities rather than products, which I quite like that separation between what's a data product, which is self-contained, but it needs to be supported by capabilities and features. So having that capability and feature roadmap or definition of what each of your capabilities and features are, and then whenever you get these requests in, map that to, okay, where does that fit in? And if those capabilities and features are linked to your business use cases, business strategy, business objectives, you'll start. It'll just become a little bit easier to understand what is a priority, because and when to do it. When's the right time to do that? And if everything just knee-jerk reactions, you will be really busy. You'll satisfy each of those individual requests, but will you actually move the needle in the right direction for overall for the business? So yeah, it's it's that communication. And why am I doing it? Why am I doing it now? Is there any better other ways of doing it? What's the best method to do it?
Right.
And then the rest of it should become a.
And again, like if we do have to do it, can we do it once and satisfy multiple things? To me, that's product thinking. Again,
Yes.
I don't want to say data product. That's kind of like thinking where you potentially do a little more than the original task, but now you're building capability that's solving more than just one problem. And I think what we're getting at is zombies have no brains. They don't think. But humans have brains, and we should think. It's actually, the other thing is, as I was driving this morning, they said that Oxford said the word of the year is brain rot, because we have access to so much information, yet we're kind of forgetting how to think. So please think. Don't turn into zombies.
Yeah, I think it's that challenging thing, and I suppose I always like to understand how things work, and if I understand how things work, I can make a better understanding of what decisions I should make on it. I think with this world of SaaS products, we talked about DBAs earlier. We're the technologists or the data professionals. You're being abstracted away from the underlying mechanics of what you're working with. So, you don't challenge maybe of why things are done in that particular way, or if there's a better way of doing something. So I think there's always I'm trying to understand. Talking about the capabilities and features, they're part of your platform. Understand what the role is of each part of that platform. And then I think
because it's like you're still even like, are you efficient at putting Legos together? Like this is ultimately it. Yes, a lot of things are much easier, 100%, which is amazing, but it ultimately helps us move faster. You still have to figure out the most optimal, and I'll say elegant way to put things together, not overly complicated, but simple and elegant. It requires a lot of thinking, because you have to think back in the past and you have to think forward in the future, right? Like the implications of your decisions, kind of like lean on the past to understand how things been done. Know what you have right now, and then think step 2, 3 ahead of how whatever it is you're putting together, how it'll be, whether it'll be useful or not in the future.
Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, one of my favorite phrases, can't remember who said it. Any fool can know. The point is to understand, and it's like exercise your brains. People don't turn into zombies.
Yeah, I think so. Last week, I did a post following Bill Inman's was on the show, and I think it was look to the past to innovate for the future. And thanks you. Thanks for your comments there. And I think at some point I'll probably dive back into it again, which is all those different eras, they gave us something, they took some other things away, and to it shows that every time we do something, we don't always do it better. We do some things better, but we fail on other parts. So learning from the past, learning from the peers, understanding why you're doing it. And I think we should no questions are stupid questions. Well, if you ask it a few times, maybe, but yeah, not to create an environment where people are afraid to ask those questions, because if you just take things for granted, you're not going to make the best decisions because you don't know the details for the rationale for any decision made. So you just accept it. You just don't use your brain. You go, okay, which is not going to move us forward as an industry and or individually.
Mm-hmm.
So while we were talking about dead things, we talked about dashboards being dead. Zombies technically are dead. ETL developers are dead. DBAs are dead. And then latest one, I think analytics engineers are dead. I don't know if they know this. I think the zombies at least do know that they're dead. But analytics engineers. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier. So what's your view on us killing off everything for these different roles?
I don't know why it's like CDOs are dead, CDAOs are dead. Like we just like love killing everything. I don't know why. I actually absolutely love the title of analytics engineer. I think to me it's actually like, let's remove DBT. DBT has nothing to do with it. It's like, as a title of analytics engineer, I think I've always said in my mind, analytics engineer is a combination of like an architect, a data engineer, a BI engineer, an ETL developer, because you engineering solutions for analytics. I personally love this title. I hope we don't kill analytics engineers or we don't turn them into zombies. I think data engineers are quite broad, and it's okay if you work for like a small company and your team of one, you're kind of like everything end to end. But when you get into more specialized, to me, analytics engineers are the ones that are building things for analytics, and it could be for data scientists, could be for BI, could be for data products, for all kinds of things. Love it. Way better than an ETL developer.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll go back to that understanding what the business need again. Yeah, data engineers became such a broad category or title and merged in of so many different, I suppose, historical roles or activities that the roles performed, and it got more complex as a space with all the different tools, ways of working, data ops approaches, more heavily focused on the infrastructure. And I think because of that, the sort of people that were doing those roles, or where they naturally fell into, it's not normally talking to the business. They're not normally have that business lens. So I agree. I think the analytics engineer provided that. I think it gave another focusing on data modeling, because to do your analytics engineering, you need to actually model that data to support the use case, and you'll understand that use case because you'll probably be talking to the business on a regular basis. So I hope they don't. Totally go
zombies.
away.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's the same thing as architects are dead as well. I'm not yet, but I'm sometimes. The role itself isn't seen as a. Everyone focuses on the engineering. I think there's a lesser focus on the architecture stuff. So even if that role, that way of thinking we can't have that die. But whether it's an individual role, I think our engineers need to have that more of an architecture
mindset.
Way of thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
So
all right, I have to ask a stupid question because it keeps going in my mind. So do zombie data teams eat ETL sandwiches or ELT sandwiches? So if T was cheese, do you put it in between slices of bread? Sorry, just a comedic relief for a second there.
So I remember Joe talking about the BLTs. I think it was bi-directional load transformers. But I said I don't like tomatoes, so I don't like BLTs. But Yeah. So, and in fact, on that note, it was quite a funny. Last week, Bill was talking about ETL versus ELT, and he had um, some very strong views on why ELT came about, and his view was it was just the vendors wanting to lock the load, push the load down, like Teradata wanted to have the load put down there, which I never really thought of that. I mean, my view at that point was, we reached like the data volumes of caching things up in an ETL tool. There was a limit of that. A lot of the stuff could be done push down, but yeah, I don't know if that means that ETL is going to make a comeback, but yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting to have his view that we should never have gone away from it. And looking through those activities, what each era gave and took away, a lot of things got taken away when we went ELT rather than ETL, because you used to have the lineage by default. You had all your business rules in the same place. You had data modeling was highly considered at that point, because you had to have your target defined where it was there. So you never let the script or something go and automatically take create your structure. So yeah, so maybe ETL will be brought back from life after it's been a zombie
I
for a
don't
while.
know. I am the highest respect to Bill, by the way, the most brilliant person, and totally appreciate his insight. But I am actually team ELT for a few reasons. We were doing EL, extract load first before T, because databases work better in sets. So processing bunches of data at once was truly more better, faster when you were on the data platform itself instead of pulling data out. You don't lose data in transformation. If your transformations, and kind of like figure business logic isn't consistent, permanent, static, it changes as the company changes. So as your data is processed, you lose data, you've written it, that's it. You can't reverse engineer ever. The other thing I love about ELT is because, not maybe a little controversial, maybe not, data has to be integrated in data warehouse, but not all data has to be integrated at once. So loading data, it actually gives you ability to do a lot of interesting analytics on data as it comes into your data lake, if you will, without needing to integrate or transform it. So I actually see still a ton of value in ELT. Potentially maybe ETL in some use cases obviously is a better approach, but I'm still very much team LT.
We're going to go slightly off topic because I've got some views on this as well. And
okay.
I saw the benefits of that push down. I think it's got abused a little bit over in some cases, and too many transient tables just for the sake of it. But thinking of the architecture and now this world of Iceberg, separate data lakes outside, multiple compute engines that you can go and put this stuff on. So when we go back to this ELT, you can't push down the workload to Apache Iceberg. You're going to need a compute engine for it. So you have to have a compute engine. So if you had a compute engine that was in effect your ETL capability, you could cache all of the things in that, cache all your lookups, even have things pinned. You can actually update things that need to go in the lookups as and when. And it's there sitting separate from your all your other workloads, and it's in its own ring fence piece, and it can still push down. So yeah, maybe there'll be some products
So
being
with
developed now
Iceberg, which is, I'm actually genuinely interested in looking forward to use cases. You just remove EL because Iceberg, right? You write data, that's it. So you can still you can use that data untransformed. So to me, that's the EL part. It's not that you have to take data from Iceberg and put it somewhere else. It's more of like Iceberg is EL. Kind of like it just one place. We remove EL and it becomes just, sometimes we have to do T, sometimes we don't.
Yeah. And I think what I saw, it's not there yet, but Iceberg's looking to put materialize view capabilities and things like that.
Yeah. So like we're abstracting T somewhere else, but I think Iceberg's just like removing the EL because you just have one storage, one place, and then you can connect. It's almost like, in a way, like bring your own BI tool, kind of. Yeah, bring your own compute.
it's amazing how much we were in the data world debate just three letters, isn't it? And the order of them, I've got another little lens to probably identify data projects that might be potential zombie data projects, and some examples. And I got this from George, who there's a link to his blog in here. I had to think about zombie solutions, which linked quite nice on his. I think one is the project names named after the technology. So this is we're doing our new Salesforce implementation. No, you're not. You're doing a CRM implementation that's probably going to be bigger than just Salesforce. So you shouldn't really call it Salesforce, because that project will go forever, because you're always going to have Salesforce. So
I can tell stories about that. I'm not going to, because I don't want people to be like it. We use insert whatever. Let's pick on, I don't know, SSAS for the hell of it, SQL Server Analysis Services. We're getting data from SSAS. 4 years later, SSAS is gone. People still think they're getting data from SSAS. Like, calling projects after tools, referring to tools by tools is just you putting yourself in a very awkward situation when you want to modernize or retire or improve or do whatever it is that you need to do, for sure.
Yeah. And I think the next one, I've seen this so many times as well, is, it's called old system replacement. So it's just, okay, we're doing, this is the teaser replacement project, or the Teradata replacement project. Once that thing's replaced, you're still gonna have activities to do, but it's not really called the replacement project.
But I think it's like, again, like, so that's the how, right? Like, but like, why are you doing it? You are probably doing it because you either need new capabilities that a new platform, right? Or the old platform is completely out of support and you can't even buy parts of it on eBay anymore. Like, why are you doing it? Not what you're doing or how you're doing it, right?
I've seen some as well. They call it the new version. So it's the new. I can't name the exact one.
It's like _V, _V, final.
Yeah, exactly. So I think having a project, your data project, back to that conversation about features and capabilities. Every part of your platform, you break it down. Each feature and capability should have its own roadmap, and if it has its own roadmap, the project is just the platform project, which is broken up into those features or capabilities of your work on, or an output of a real data product that's built on that is actually shipped out and used by a client. So yeah, I think that's something to watch out for. Any projects that are named like that, the company's probably not thinking in the right way, or structured in the right way to be effective. I think the thing, because these systems go and the names stay, and that's the biggest issue, is the fact that and people actually understand where things are coming from now. So so that's one to watch for as well. So we touched on this earlier, and I think when you say about the why now, I think it's that problem definition statement. So it's really understanding what problem we're trying to solve, and then once you've actually worked out what problem, so it is working out the roadmap to iterate rather than just trying to solve it. Can you make that problem less work, not as bad, and that's still a success, just moving in the right direction. Understanding what you're solving, and then why you're solving it, and then why now to solve it
and I think, Chris, kind of like what you're saying. So what I've experienced being like IC and then moving into leadership at a higher level, it's easier to kind of like define projects, right? But then for each person, each individual contributor, asking why now for the smallest request is still very important. It doesn't have to be a roadmap. It just has to tell you whether you really need to do it or not, whether you should be focusing on different things. Again, I have yet to see a data team that doesn't have a massive backlog. It's just more of like for every single person, whether you're individual contributor and you're again, like your kind of like scope of influence is smaller, ask for each task why now, like what they're trying to accomplish and why do you have to work on this ticket now. Because it's very enlightening, like, and you'll start seeing patterns. It also helps you kind of like, if you want to grow in your career, kind of just having that mentality of like constant prioritization of what is the most important thing for you to work on right now.
Yeah, and you'll find, I think I made a comment on the post on this one as well, is that a lot of the easy stuff's been done, and how I always would like to, I like when someone says it can't be done or it's too difficult. That's just like, right, let's have a look, and that's a challenge that's is worth accepting. So yeah, I think that's another lens on this. A lot of the easy stuff's been done. Sometimes, not saying you go fix it, might be difficult and cost a lot of money, but and to do that, but yeah, to maybe look to see what activities can help with that longer term activity. The thing that is too difficult. Yeah, I think the elephant in a bite-sized chunks. So that big problem, you can cut away with it and then back that feature, back that capability. If I improve these iteratively, I'm going to keep the business on side. I'm going to show the value I'm performing, and I'll actually be able to achieve bigger things because I use this term, the force multiplier. The sum of the individual parts is worth more than they are individually, and unlocks additional opportunities that you wouldn't have had before. Or if you had gone straight for that opportunity straight away, it would have been such a long journey that you probably would have lost support of achieving it, because you haven't actually evidenced any success on that journey.
And like can't be done, I don't ever recall a moment where something couldn't be done from the technological perspective. It's very difficult because either of processes that a team or company has, so it requires change in process, that is very difficult, or people's skill sets, their I don't know, desire for a change. So like that's why I'm like, I don't technologically, I think, I mean, at this point we have so much technology that anything can be done. Just time and money is what we need.
And we just need and chat GPT to tell us how to use everything. So
Ooh, I don't know about that one.
No,
Don't be
it's
a zombie with that one, because it'll sneak in some rotten something to you. You
yeah.
won't know.
Yeah, well, in fact, if you depend on ChatGPT and Gemini too much, you have become a zombie, because you're believing what you've been told, and
Yeah.
it's useful as a supporting activity, but yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think Ramona just happened up here. We'll put this quote here. I think the why now is on both important for both sides. Maybe there's info we don't have a need, and I think that goes both ways. I think that's what Ramona's saying there, is that some things above our pay grade, and we're not privy to everything that's there. But even though some of that detail may be above our pay grade, the rationale, reasoning could actually be defined. That at least gives you. No one wants to take, but they'll just do it. And
I mean,
I have.
if you're VP, if you're like, I don't know, like a junior IC, and you're like asking why do we have to now, UEP essentially says because I told you so. I mean, you do it because it's actually strategically important for you to do it, and not like, of course, absolutely. We at every level, we're not privy to some information, and that's perfectly fine. But what we're trying, like, it's almost like, it's not like, oh, there's like, you get it 95% with like 5% you don't know. I'm talking about, like, it's very binary. If the person requesting like, oh, can you create a new report for me, and you're like, oh, like, what are you trying to understand why now, and they can't answer,
Yeah.
This is like very clear.
Yeah. And I think so people have asked for something, and this is where we have this breakdown between business understanding and technical understanding. The business may ask for something that they think is very, very easy, and they're expecting it to happen very quickly. And I think unfortunately, when they, oh no, it can't be done, too difficult. We need to provide why is it too difficult, or
Yep.
it can be done, but maybe at a different time, and it wouldn't cost you so much, or it wouldn't
Right.
be as effective. So I think it all gets back down to this chasm, the gap that we've got between the business and technology. That maybe it's close. I think it closes and opens a bit, but it never gets fully never gets fully aligned.
So Ramona, when it's true or false, nulls is not an option. I'm just kidding. She posted, can it be 3-value logic instead of binary? That's my favorite database joke. It's a binary column, but you can have 3 values in it. That's really. Can I just something something somebody told me once not that long ago, which talking about kind of like that disconnect between business and technology, which it I spent entirely too much time thinking about it. So this person had a meeting with me trying to tell me that the way data team is writing this pipeline is wrong and we should do it in a different way. This is a business person. And I was kind of like trying, I'm like, well, can you like walk me through why do you think your way is better than the way we're doing it? And the answer from this person was, well, I'm technical, but not IT. And that was the most fascinating thing in the world for me. We can spend a lot of time kind of like tangling what was said, but business sometimes shows up with solutions. They don't really know. They think they know, and obviously, I mean, in their mind, this is the right solution. And yeah, other times they feel they're technical but not IT, which is sorry. But again, kind of going back of like abstracting, trying to abstract and have a conversation of what they're trying to accomplish, why we need to accomplish it now, because I think it also helps us. We potentially already have something to solve that problem, but when they again like take us in a different direction, we get distracted.
Yeah, it's also quick fixes. So I suppose put enough sticky back plastic on something, yeah, it's still going to float. But would you really want to sail across the river in it? And I think there's too much a focus on quick fixes,
Yep.
and you pay in the long run those quick fixes. I there's some sort of measure or something I think would be useful. Like if you X number of quick fixes over a period of time creates this much technical debt, which slows you down X amount and reduces productivity of a team by this. If you're able to, try and encourage not to do knee-jerk quick fixes and actually put it onto a strategic roadmap. It's
Thinking,
gonna,
right?
yeah, you're
Thinking,
gonna,
asking question like, don't be zombie, don't like
yeah,
follow, but this is how we've always done it, or like this is just easy. I solve a problem immediately in front of me. You know, think, ask
yeah,
questions, understand, like genuinely try to understand what is being asked and again, why you need to do it. Don't be like a zombie.
yeah, exactly. So and I think that the other one is everyone always looks at what's worked in the past, which can be, you can rely on that what's worked in the past, but that may not be the only answer. And just to not always go to the default, I just do what we've always done. It's like, okay, well,
Like
is it the same requirements?
to GT's point, it depends. Have you heard, this is another phrase that I absolutely hate. Well, if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah,
This is kind of, well, it worked in the past, it's still working, why should we fix it? Hate hate that phrase too. I
yeah,
absolutely always say learn from the past,
yeah,
but don't take things as they are. And that's like, we can go in another rant about lift and shift. This is lift and shift. This works. It works. I don't want to think about it. I'm just gonna copy paste and then like here we go. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Mm.
yeah. And it's another good, a lift and shift. I would say lift, shift, and a twist is okay, but a lift and shift on its own, you're not getting much value at
Sounds
all.
like a
And
dance.
yeah. Well, there was, yeah. Yes, lift, shift, and twist. Yeah. Maybe it'll be the new craze after flossing. That was the last one.
The flow.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'm out of date with some of these things. Okay. What's the definition of a zombie here? Well, the definition of zombie here is not someone that's actually dead, chasing down with a with axe and things like that. It's just someone that's just going with the flow and not challenging why they're doing something. So
Yeah.
and as Ramon said, it depends. Yeah, JT.
All right. So, any people from the audience, any takes on what they think? What have we not covered from
Yeah.
zombies?
Yeah. Anyone got any other views on this? We got probably
Yeah.
about the five more minutes left anyway, so we can get some. See, they're coming thick and fast now. Can agents get zombies, or they're zombie by default? Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Well, yes. I think. Well, maybe agents are zombies because they're just being told what to do. Oh, yeah, but out of my knowledge of how these act. Need John Cook probably for that one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah,
So there's. I think they're.
Well, the agents have
Ooh.
probably got their own. I think they're given a purpose, haven't they? So
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe they know. Yeah. So maybe we'll just start with a bit of a summary of what we can do to prevent becoming a zombie, or prevent your teams becoming zombies. And yeah, I think it's recognition of what the problem is that you're trying to solve, the reason why we're doing this stuff. Identifying the underlying problems before we find the solutions. I think we're a little bit too happy just to go a standard approach. We just do it this way because we always have. And I think it's that communication. It's being able to work in an environment where it's okay to ask why, it's okay to get an understanding, and it's okay to say no in the right way. And I think that's going to help prevent teams working on low value tasks, prevent getting loads of technical debt from just creating lots of point solutions. And I think you'll get more respect from the business, and you'll get more support from the business for these activities because they've seen the value you've added. And I think that's going to prevent zombies taking over this industry.
Zombie apocalypse.
Yes, exactly.
Val said you need strong leadership to avoid zombie teams and people with good integrity. Absolutely. When you
That's a
work
good
in a
point, actually.
collaborative environment is when it's open and encouraged to critique and ask questions. When you work in a competitive environment, that's when it's not, right? Because then everybody's kind of like, I'm just going to keep my idea to myself. 100% Val, it's like you have to have the right culture as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was trying to find it. Oh, yeah. So
There you
shout
go.
out to Val.
Thank you.
There you go. That's it. Need strong leadership. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a very good point. As you've seen in Waking Dead, you've seen they have strong leadership in their in their fight against the zombies. Look, I think we'll probably. I've actually got to go 5 minutes early anyway, so I've got to get to another location. But I'll just next week. So I'm getting organised nearly. I'm actually getting everyone's knowing what we're talking about. Well, literally, it was about 20 minutes before this meeting. But so we got Eldad back on again when we talk about winning with data. I started thinking of what's his name? Robert Downey Jr. Was it? No, who was the one that was always said winning? Anyway.
Iron Man? I don't know.
Anyway, so never lose control of your data. So we've got a security lens for the topic next week. But thank you very much, Veronika, for coming on this show today. always enjoy our chats and the collaboration and you know, messages about what we're seeing in the data world. It's always very insightful. But for people that might want to catch up with you, I know you have an event on tomorrow, so we'll share a bit of details on
Yes.
that.
Quick plug for Boston area people. We have low key data happy hour tomorrow in Cambridge. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you, Chris, for having me. Such a fun topic. I think we can continue coming up with other ideas of who is a zombie and how to bring them back to living.
Exactly. And yeah, thanks again for taking the time and coming on here and sharing your insights from your vast experience. And I say the same thing now as well. I don't like to admit how long I've been in the data industry, but is it getting too long nowadays? Oh, Russell just said Charlie Sheen was the guy who said winning. So yeah, thank you, Russell. You got my joke anyway. Cool. Well, next week, I said we got Eldad. I think the week after, I've got Ben Rogen. I think we're going to do our Data Crystal Ball event as well. As for my activities, I think I'm in Data Day Texas in January, a little way off. We've got the Winter Data Conference, so if you haven't got your tickets and locked in for that, check that out. Getting starting to make some traction with that, so that should be good. And yeah, thank you, everyone. That's it. We'll call it a wrap.
Bye.
Bye.